Trouble getting started in make.com? You're not alone. A lot of beginners get stuck on the same questions. What is a trigger? What is an action? How do app connections work? And why does the first test run fail so often? Now that we've set the context, Priya will take it from here and show you how to build your first trigger and action inside make.com.
Hello everyone, this is Priya. I hope you are enjoying the video. So let's get started with a trigger and how to add polling to the scenarios in make.com. I have this scenario already created, but if you want to start from scratch, you can go to scenarios, click here. I'll just right click and click open link in new tab. Okay, and then click create scenario. This will allow you to create a blank scenario. So let's go back. Now first, let's talk about some symbols. So you see here we are seeing this watch, which means this is a schedule, which is polling. So we are just now going to, what we are going to do is use a jot form here. We will make a submission and then capture it in Airtable. So let's jump to it. Now, if I click on jot form here, you'll see different type of actions, okay, or triggers that are there. Now this specific one, watch for submission, you see there are two tags here, instant and acid. So by instant it means which triggers immediately, the triggers that we are talking about, like webhooks, which triggers instantly. So this will trigger instantly as soon as a form is submitted. Okay. And acid ones are similar to polling ones. If I add it here, it will ask for me to create a webhook, but you can see that how symbol has changed now. It's the instant symbol. So in make.com, you can easily differentiate by looking at this symbol whether your module is instant or is it acid. Now let's cancel it. I'm not going to create this webhook. I'm going to use a custom webhook in make.com. Okay, so let's search for webhook here, and we are going to use the custom webhook. I'm going to choose, because I have other webhooks, but I'm not going to choose one. I'm going to create new. So I'm going to click add. Okay. I'm just going to name it. Make sure you name all your webhooks in make.com, otherwise it may quickly get messy. So I'll just name it jot form submissions accept, okay, so that I can easily identify for that which form it is. Or the best way is you can copy actually this ID also, which is your jot forms ID. This is just a trick you can use to make sure it is unique always. So I'll just save that here and save it. There are other settings in webhooks that you can do. For example, for security, you can add a API key, and when you receive the data, you can use it to identify that your source is the same that you added. And there are some advanced settings to add IP restrictions. You can also fix the data structure, which means that you can, let's say your form has email, name, and business name, but you only want name and email. So you can fix the data structure that it will only send name and email, just to make triggers more strict. All right. So we're not going to discuss all that for now. Then we'll save it, and it will give us a endpoint. So this is our webhook, as you can see here. I'll copy it, click on copy address to clipboard here. And you see that this is running, it's waiting for the trigger. So I'm going to quickly go and add it to my jot form. So I'm done submitting my adding webhook to the jot form. Now let's quickly submit this one. Just quickly refresh it. And let's see what happens here. Okay, it's still waiting for a submission. So let's say just to differentiate, I'm using this. Okay, now let's enter some number. triggers. Okay. Create a trigger. Now I'm going to send it. Please, thank you. Do you see this green? It says successfully determined, which means it has received the. So now we are going to save it. So when we now click on save, it will save the data structure also that it has received. I'm going to show you that as well. So we'll click on save here, and always remember to click save here, otherwise details might lost. Now I'm going to map these details to Airtable. So I already set up this module here. I'm just going to show you what happens. Now we see that we have all the fields here that we have to see, though they are blank, because in Make, when you are first creating the webhook, it just creates the structure. It does not capture the data because it was in test mode. We're just going to save it. Now I'm going to show you the webhook, data structure it captured. You can always do that and check how your webhooks are performing, how many data is in the queue. So in your sidebar, you will see webhook here. Sometimes it might not be visible here. In that case, you can go to more and find it here. So let's go to webhooks. So we have these many webhooks. Now our webhook is this one. I'm just going to open it. You can see all the details here, but scenario is associated with the webhook as well. If you go to logs, so we received this right now, right? And I can go to detail. You can see all the details here. Okay, what method was used? This is the detail that we received for the header, essentially. Header is in the HTTP protocol. You can ignore it. This is just if somebody wants to go deep in technical stuff. Okay. So this is our the data that was used, and you can see that it gives me all the details of the form title. So all these fields you can use to, add multiple actions, filter your data, validate, okay, that this was the form from which the data came in, right? This is your unique submission ID. We can also save this in our CRM or databases to pull the submissions later from your form. And then the data that we added is here. So now let's go back and do the mapping and then do the actual submission. So I'll just go back to detail, open the scenario again. Now let's submit it actually to capture the data. So I'll go to the scenario here. Now right now if we click, we don't see any data here. Now to capture the data when your scenario is not on, okay, when you switch it on, it will automatically receive data and pass it to the other modules. But to test it, what we can do is click here, run once button. So we use it. If I or run once will run the whole module, but we just need to run this module which will receive the form trigger. So I'm going to right click on it and run this module on it. Okay. And you see this has started moving, which means it is waiting for the data. So let's submit this form. I made some quick changes. And we'll come here. Now we can see we have got our data and you can check the values here. You can also see data here, which is, it's combined in one string. This is how short form is sent it. So that's one problem also in case you map it completely, and this may cause issues. So we have to carefully click here and check how we have received the data. What is the structure of my data, which is important when mapping the fields. And this is all the raw details here.
This is perfect example of how the data that we are receiving could be problematic. Okay, this also you cannot map directly, right? Because if I open Airtable and let's say I want to map the full name here, you see username. If I map username here, I'll get processes here, right? So this is pretty clean. Type will give me web. Form title will give me website contact us form. But I need, let's say, lead details. If I add pretty, it will give me everything here, which we saw, right? Which is this data, the complete data. Now, how do we get individual values? How do I get email? How do I get the business name? How do I get the message separately? There are two ways to do it actually. We can use it through raw request also, because if you notice the raw request, if I come down below here, not down below here, form. So in the form part, I can see that we have submit data. I have the first name, last name, I have email, okay, I have phone number, and this is it. So let's try with both. Okay, we'll add a module here. We'll go search for tools. So this is a great tip to handle data. And we are going to add a set multiple variables. What do we need? Let's say we need name, then we need email. So I'll show you for these two values. What we are going to do is we'll pick this value pretty here, and we will do a split function. We'll cover these functions separately, like in separate videos as well, but this is a great example of how to use string functions in Make, or the text functions. So when I'm clicking here, this gives us the data which has come from the previous module. This one, right? This is AI. These are some settings. This is your number functions, math functions. These are your text and binary functions, and we have used one of that here, which is split, and you can see find split here. And if you hover over it, you will also see all the details, what it does, how it does. Then we have the date functions. All of these are date functions here. Every function, if you hover, it gives you the details, what its function is. Then if you go to here, this gives you the array functions. And this is your custom and system variables, which is available in specific plans. So we'll do our job. Now, what we are going to do is we are going to split this text into different parts. So this will return a list or an array to us. Now we can see that these are separated by commas, right? We'll just use comma here and close it. That will split it up into different parts. Now to extract, let's say, business name. Okay, I'll just extract business name here. Let's name it as business name. What I'm going to do is, because this is an array, I'm going to get is another function which helps you get values from array. So if I do, semicolon 1, it will give me first value in the array. If I do 2, it will give me second value in the array. So this is going to be a bit complex function, but I'm going to just show you the whole function for now. Now we split that value by, just close it. Let's keep it simple for now, for a while. And then we break it up on column. And again, we get the second value. I hope I have done it right. Let's see what we get here. We'll run it. So what we are doing here is, let me just explain it. We are breaking it up with comma, which will give us this as array 1, gives this as array 2, and this will be the third value. So we can access it from 1, 2, 3 index. So it is indexed now with breakage of comma. Now we can see that it is these. Now when I get in first, I will get email. Second position, I'll get business name. Now what I'm doing here is I'm breaking it up again on the colon. So I got this whole value in the first split and I used get to. Then I splitted it on column. So I again got business name as at first index and webhook triggers at second index. And then I am again picking second value, which is webhook triggers. So let's see, my output should be webhook triggers here. Okay. Business name, webhook triggers. So this is just to explain you how these functions work. Once you get a hang of it, it becomes pretty easy. So I'll just save it for now. And I'll also add another module to show you how we can extract it from the raw data. Now, you know about, there is something called as JSON, which is used by APIs to transfer data from one application to another. So the structure that we see here is a typical JSON data, which is in string format. That's why it's not, it's not showing us separate values like this is a separate clean entity. So we are going to parse this to give us the output like this. Okay. For that, in Make, we have an inbuilt tool which we can use. What that tool is, it's very handy tool. If your data is not properly, or JSON is properly not parsed properly. So we use parse JSON. Search for JSON here. Click parse JSON. Okay. Now what are we going to map here? We are going to map the raw request. So this will map that entire string here and it will map. Save it. Now if I click here and click here, okay, I see this data, but I don't see JSON still, right? Because it's not parsed yet. So we'll just save it for now. Okay. For now, I will unlink it. Okay. By unlinking, what we are doing is we are going to just run this part. And let's see what output we get. So again, I'll choose, actually, select the, sorry, we don't have a run, so we'll have to submit it. So I'll just choose, yeah, I'll choose run once. We are just going to submit it again. Now let's do so we can differentiate it. Oh, I'm not going to change that. We'll keep it webhook triggers, fast JSON, send it. It ran. Okay. Now let's see. I got the data. Webhook. We got webhook 2. Yep, everything is good. And then we got the request. Now let's see what we got. We got webhook triggers here. Exactly. This is what we wanted. That's one of the ways through string functions. And another method is JSON parsing, which should be simpler and best to use to avoid these complex functions. Now let's see what we got. Okay, now you see this is parsed, and do we have name? Voila. See, we got the name, first name, last name, right? These are the keys that JotForm uses. Now I can directly map it. Okay, I don't have to struggle with this. I'll just join it. Okay. This is very handy in Make. You can just bring modules closer to join them and move them away to unlink them. Now we can map it. So I'm going to map it. And we are going to map from JSON module. We are not going to map from this because we don't have the data that we need. I have the Airtable open now. So So this is our table, and you can see it's blank now. When we run it, now it should populate these fields. Okay? First space, last name, email in the email field, and message in the message field. We can again check our values here. So name as DJ Webhook 2, email is this, and then the messages we are creating first webhook trigger parse JSON. These are the details we should have. I'll just wait. I'm going to save it, save this also, save my scenario as well. Now we can use the replay, right? So this is one of the functions that the past operations we can use to test our data. As of now, we still can see that it's off. Okay, it's not active yet. Let's use our replay function and choose it here and then click run once. Great. So it ran and we can see. So this is my input bundle and this is my output. Input bundle is what went into this module and what output we have. Okay. So I'm going to go to here table and see we have our data properly mapped as expected. Okay. So yeah, that was about mapping triggers. Now the second part is using polling or let me show you something here. Polling is when we fetch the data from other server at an interval, certain time interval. And the thing with that is usually with the instant items, what happens is it will give you just one entity or one record. So when we did the form submission, it will every time a form submission happen, it sends the data. But let's say you don't want to do that. You don't want immediately when the data comes. Maybe it's not that urgent. So what you do is you create a cron job or a scheduler which runs every day at the end of the day, maybe let's say 6 p.m., 7 p.m., which pulls all the submissions that happened today and then it saves them to Airtable. Okay, so that's your use case. Now let's say outside of this, like these linkages, I'll right click here and I can add a module anywhere and click on this plus icon. I will search for jot form and pull all submissions. Okay. Now I want form submissions, right? This will also show you because my is not connected, so I'll have to connect it. Say click connect. Yeah, okay. So I was asking to connect with this, but I was showing you something else. So I'll just unlink it. You see there is for the schedule, what should happen is it should poll. And this is not a instant module like I showed previously. What you can do is I'll just pull it, okay, just drag it, and then we can just bring it here. You see, it changed to this watch icon because this is what is a schedule here. Regardless, we can also run it. I'm not going to run it from starting. And just for demo purpose, I'm going to add it here because it's going to give us the same result whether I add it at the start. When we add it at the start, and this is the source or the first module, which is the trigger actually. In that case, this in make.com specifically, we should have this instant or schedule setting here. Here will not need this icon or it won't be required. Now I'm just going to create a connection. Clicking on create connection and just name it pj.form connection. And I'll just quickly get the API key and get it run. I have the API key now. I'll save it. Connection is created. Why is it showing an error here? Yeah, maybe. So we are just going to choose a form from which we want to pull submissions. Now you see here is the limit. Limit means it will pull 10 records at once. Now let's say, let me show you. And then you can add filters, but we're not going to do that. And let's say we do it by updated app. Save it. Now again, I'm going to run it once. I'm going to run this module only. Choose run this. If you want to test this only, choose run this module only. And here we go. So how do we know how much data we got? So this is bundle one, like first submission, which is bundle one. The records in make.com are called as bundles. Okay? And we can see here total number of bundles is 6. So we have total 6 records here. Bundle 1, bundle 2, bundle 3, bundle 4, bundle 5, and bundle 6. Okay? And if you change limit here to 1, save it, run once, and it's going to give us just one record. See? And in this, it is pretty simple. You know, it's very clean. We don't have to do anything. We have the email, phone number, and message as well. So they have also done a similar thing actually. They have just broke, like in the text, we broke it according to commas and colons. It looks like it's the similar method, somewhat closer, what they have followed here. Okay. And then we can map email, can map first name and last name, and we can map the message as well. So yeah, that was about polling and triggers, and a quick note about errors. So to handle errors, what you can do is, this is just a brief introduction. We'll have a separate series or a episode on error handling in make.com. Actually a series because it's comprehensive. We'll cover it comprehensively. You see when you right click on it, you have this option of add error handler. And then you can choose one of these. So break is to handle the rate limits. If you add break, you can say like if this API fails for some reason, you can add number of attempts and how much interval should be there. One required condition for it is if I click save, it will show me an error here because in our make settings, we need to enable store incomplete execution. And you should always enable it, always make it yes, so that when your automation runs, it saves the incomplete data. If there is an error, it will save it, okay, with the incomplete data, and then you can rerun it with correct data. So if incomplete executions is enabled, you will see errors here in this list if there are errors. So yeah, that was all about this. Thank you so much. I hope you liked the video. Please consider liking the video, sharing it with someone who could benefit from it. Thank you.